Gambian toyboys.
Captain Tom's daughter wants more.
And the exile of the kosher quarterback.
All this and more on this week's episode of News Sensation.
Hello and welcome to News Sensation, where we take you through the weirdest and wildest and at times the most sensual news stories of the week that was. I'm Matty Curry.
And I'm Chris Patel. And we've recently had it's not a sensual story.
No.
Recently had this come in on the Newswire. The voting age is apparently going to be lowered in England and Scotland to 16.
Ahead of the next general election. This is true. Which, as somebody who, I used to be really into politics in my teenage years, and I still am, obviously, because I'm an adult and you kind of have to be. But I was one of those people who was like, we've got to lower the voting age to 16, because if I can theoretically have kids, get married, get taxed, I should have a right to vote. And I still believe that to this day.
Yeah.
But then I'm also hitting the point now where as the more I get removed from being a 16-year-old and the more I have to like sometimes get the tram into town during like the school rush or whatever, I'm like,
I mean, I was always very much on the other side because when we were 16, people were running for running as UKIP and winning the school election.
Did they win the school election as UKIP?
I don't think they won as... no, we had two, didn't we?
Yeah.
We had two general elections. I think maybe the Greens won the last one. Greens will be punching the air with this.
Oh, they'll love
right
that. This is more people going to waste their vote. No.
That's
Look,
crazy.
No, well, all I'm saying is it's one of those things where I think young people are more inclined to vote with heart over head.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think in a first-past-the-post system, that can have unintended consequences.
But actually with head too as well, because a lot of young people aren't paying their own way. So all that's really going on in their world is, I guess, humanitarian stuff.
Well, I actually... Well, here's the thing. I think that politics is actually quite often a matter of heart as much as it is about head, right?
Yeah, it should be.
Mr. Clinton. No, but the... Sorry. But the issue I have with it is the fact that it's like you've got to be tactical.
Speaking of voting in your interests, we used to have the debate: should we lower the voting age and should we let prisoners vote? And I used to think, no, we shouldn't let prisoners vote.
That's wild.
Because they'll vote for evil things and they'll like put the Joker in charge and stuff.
Your understanding of prisons came from like the Arkham video games.
Yeah, it came
and
from
Lego
the
Batman.
best prison ever.
Arkham Asylum's not even a prison.
The greatest prison. Well, that's recently been opened, hasn't it?
What, Alligator
Alcatraz?
Alcatraz? Well, yeah, and this is the thing, is that quite often people are putting forward these insane ventures that eventually just turn out to be horrific crimes against whoever is present. And, for example, Fyre Fest. So Fyre Festival is notorious. It has 2 documentaries, all sorts of different things. But Fyre Festival is back in the headlines this week because Billy McFarland, the organizer of the notorious event itself, the original organizer, has sold the rights to the brand, which I'm sure earned him a pretty penny, which included its IP, its trademarks, and social media assets for, and here's the pretty penny, $245,300. And the sale took place on eBay, the place where people always sell their intellectual property. So you're probably wondering, why is he selling off the brand? Why is anyone buying the brand? And what does $245,000 look like in the festival market? Well, I'll try and explain that for you over the course of this story. It's a mess, much like Fyre Festival itself. So over the course of a week, 175... Oh, wow, my throat there. 175 bids. I'm getting caught in my own thoughts here. It's so moving. I'm passionate. By 42 different bidders were submitted. And while for an eBay auction this would usually be seen as a strong return, McFarland was disappointed. Live streaming the last hour of the bid, he was captured saying, "Damn, this sucks. It's so low." And we're thinking $245,000. I'm not turning my nose, but if you want to start up our Patreon for us and immediately donate $245,000, I would say, damn, this is awesome. It's so much. But it starts to make sense. You see, the sentiment can only be understood when you remember how much the man owes. So, McFarland was sentenced to 6 years in federal prison back in 2018. Halcyon days. But was released in 2022. His crimes included defrauding investors out of $26 million.
I've seen this guy. You wouldn't trust him to like look after your dog. Like, I watched the Fyre Fest documentary. How? I mean, I'm sure.
Well, I'll try and delve into it. And I would recommend, after this episode, if you want to know a little bit more about the original Fyre Festival, because there's so much going on. There's great video essays. There's 2 separate streaming service documentaries. You probably already are aware of it by name only and its associations. But anyway, as part of McFarlane's sentence, he agreed to pay $26 million back in restitution. And that was all going back to the people who attended the festival in 2017. Now, a portion of the proceeds from this week's sale was meant to be used. So suddenly $245,000 doesn't really scratch the surface. Bearing in mind that somehow this is his most valuable asset, probably. Not many people have something worth $245,000 lying around, and he did, and it was somehow the Fyre Festival brand name. But how do we get here? The original festival was an unmitigated disaster. It was full of false promises, including relief tents rather than luxury accommodation, abysmal food options rather than the luxury again that was promised, and artists pulling out at the last minute.
Yeah, it looked like a UN mission.
It did. Well, it was all also in the midst of a Caribbean storm. So it suddenly became Médecins Sans Frontières because everyone had to be evacuated from the island. It's a brand name synonymous with overblown internet projects that go horribly wrong and leave the victims shortchanged. Now, like I said, there are streaming services and video essays on all of this, so go wild after this and watch all of that. I want to talk about what happened a couple of years after the fact, after McFarland was released from federal prison, because that's really where this story, the story of this week, comes to light. So, when McFarland was released, his plan became very clear. Despite the fact he was in prison for 4 years for running Fyre Festival, he launched Fyre Festival 2 in 2023. Electric Boogaloo. Now, with tickets starting at $1,400, $1,400, McFarland once more promised luxury accommodation, get the tents out, this time off the coast of Mexico rather than the Bahamas. But Mexican government officials have claimed that there was no work between the festival and relevant authorities. Now,
That doesn't sound like our Billy.
It doesn't sound like our Billy. He's usually so organised. Now, after changing location from Isla Mujeres to Playa del Carmen, the festival announced, mere weeks before it was set to start, mind you, that they had to move again. Now, officials on both the islands said they were unaware of the event, and the Fyre team said this is absolutely not true, and were trying to release documents saying this is all of the things we organised. But both sides very adamant from one side or the other. All we know is it didn't happen on either of those islands. So where did Fyre Festival 2 happen? It didn't. It's still on what is effectively an interminable hiatus, which is where this sale comes in. So the festival was called off, and McFarlane said, for Fyre Festival 2 to succeed, it's clear that I need to step back and allow a new team to move forward independently. Now, the eBay listing did include a Caribbean festival location option, with parentheses, with full support from the elected island leadership. But we'll leave that to the new brand owners. It is worth wondering, do these Caribbean island officials know about this?
Yeah. Which island as well? Because there's a range.
There's a lot of... If you're not aware, if you're not caught up with your geography, because you're too busy catching up on Fyre Festival drama from 7 years ago, there's a lot of Caribbean islands. It didn't list which one it was, which... interesting way to enter into a deal. It also remains to be seen whether the tickets purchased 2 years ago, which were put on hiatus, where they were saying when the festival eventually happens, you can use these tickets, which included a $1.1 million ticket for a group of 8 people. We're left wondering if these will still be valid by the time the second Fyre Festival eventually happens.
Do we know what package that's actually for? Do you get to meet Billy?
I don't know if you could get to meet him anymore, because it seems like there is a distancing going on. So customers may well be the only continuity, because the eBay listing does offer access to the core team, but it makes it clear that it is optional. So of all the things on there, you've got like the island, the IP, all these things, and it says access to the core team, brackets, optional.
Yeah.
Very well aware that you might not want to deal with these people.
Yeah, if you want to pay 1.1 million to not meet them, that's fine.
So
I would.
McFarlane himself certainly seems like he's done with it all post-sale. He said, Fyre Festival is just one chapter of my story, and I'm excited to move on to the next one. Now, unfortunately for Billy, he's racked up quite the bill. And again, his somehow most valuable asset did little to cover it. So he may be ready to turn the page to his new chapter. But I think there's a fair few creditors, lenders, debtors knocking on the door to say, listen, Sunshine, there's still about 25 million to go. And what project he will dream up to pay that bill, we're going to have to wait and see.
Also, mate, this is not one chapter, is it? This is the entire book.
This is the
You
whole
were
book.
Completely irrelevant before this. And in fact, you tried to dig it up again, and only now you're selling the rights. This is the photo page in the middle of the book is full of, it's just Fyre Fest.
Yeah. In fact, this is probably the epilogue of the book.
Yeah.
This is the final bit.
The book is called Fyre Fest, actually. It's not even got your name on it.
Yeah, it's not even Fyre Festival 2.
No.
The whole point of the final chapter is it doesn't happen.
I bet he brings a book out, and if he does, we'll put it on here.
Oh, that's such
Put
great
it on
stack
this
material.
beautiful stack that we have.
Billy
Next to all
McFarlane's
Matty's Yiddish
biopic.
literature.
Well, there was meant to be more Yiddish literature, but you mentioned that there was too many books on the stack.
There were too many books.
The issue is that I'm too learned. You know, my brain too big, my stack too high, my Yiddish too tough. They're gonna kill me. Now, speaking of somebody who's being persecuted,
We promised this is going to
who's
be a
one
funny
of my
story.
people. Look.
Let my people go.
Let my people go. Well, he chose to let himself go in this instance. Yes, you might be seeing here a bit of the old American football, a bit of the old pigskin. Not very kosher.
No.
Well, BYU, the famed Mormon university in Provo, Utah, has lost their Jewish quarterback.
No.
I'm devastated. It was
Is
the
Jewish quarterback a specific position? I don't know much about American football.
It's
Do you have a
specific
quarterback
position.
and a Jewish quarterback?
yeah. So there are so many ways we can go with this joke, and I'm not going to explore any of them.
I'm gonna let you.
Yeah, let
take the calls on this one.
Take me to calls on this one. I just think that they're better prepared for cold weather games because there's no way their mum lets them leave the house without plenty of layers. You've got some Midwest farm boy walking out there. He's got no sleeves on. It's freezing cold, and it's like no. The Jewish quarterback comes prepared. And I think that's the thing. He's always prepared. He is also always sidelined with tummy troubles. It says that on all the injury reports. Why is Retzlaff out? Tummy troubles. Oh. Dairy? Would you believe it? Yeah.
You can do period betting, but
period betting. But did the Jewish quarterback have too much dairy last night?
it's just dairy in the injury report.
Yeah. Yeah, he failed to turn down
Hershey's Kisses.
the trip with the Mormons to the ice cream stand, which is one of the few things that Mormons can consume, I think. And we'll get into that later. Because, you see, what has gone wrong with SoCal Jew himself, Jake Retzlaff.
I thought that was his name. I just glanced down. His
name's
SoCal
not
Jew.
SoCal.
He's like a Hollister branded rabbi.
No, if you're thinking that he's from Corona, outside LA, so Southern California, Provo, Utah, Brigham Young University is the last place you'd ever expect to find this man. But there he was, leading the way as their starting quarterback last season. But he has had to leave the university after a violation of the honor code. Ooh. Now, Retzlaff faced a civil lawsuit accusing him of sexual assault in May, but the suit was dropped at the end of June. This didn't clear him in the eyes of the university.
Okay.
Because in addressing the accusations, Retzlaff said, I had sex, but it was consensual sex. Now, that being his official position in his defense meant that he had admitted to a crime in the eyes of the university because that sex was premarital.
It's because he didn't have somebody underneath him kicking the bed.
Yeah, he wasn't soaking. He wasn't soaking. Yeah, so
one of the worst verbs in the English language.
One of the worst verbs in the English language. Soak is already a horrible word. When you apply it to this sort of thing, if you don't know what soaking is, please look it up.
He was sopping in the eyes of the university.
Now, so look, you might not know much about the Church of the Latter-day Saints. You might not know much about Mormons. When I get into the honor code as we go through this story, you'll get an idea of a general sense of who they are. But the school is primarily attended by those from the Church of Latter-day Saints. Brigham Young was like a close associate of Joseph Smith. He was kind of his more, to my understanding, militant sort of right-hand man.
The King Von of Mormonism.
Yeah, he was walking him down. And by walking him down, I mean he may have massacred numerous Native Americans in Utah.
Oof.
Yeah,
And that's against my honor code, personally.
Yeah. I mean,
not to be like a woke asshole.
Anyway, they have a strict honor code at the university, which includes a commitment to live a chaste and virtuous life. We wouldn't stand the chance.
I didn't know you'd been to that university.
This includes abstaining from sexual relations outside marriage between a man and a woman. So, I'm doing great so far.
Found a loophole, and I mean loophole.
You think you found a loophole? No, you have not.
Aw.
We'll get to that later.
Shucks.
Don't you worry. He was an admired member of the student body. Was Jake Retzlaff. And even more beloved for his on-field heroics that saw him lead BYU to an 11-win season. So if you don't know, that's very good. They played 13 games last season, 12 regular season, 1 postseason. 11-2, pretty good. He was one of those who's sort of a bit back and forth, but he really shone. And this is meant to be his breakout year before perhaps going on to the NFL and then the honor code. So the thing with Retzlaff is, despite being sort of a cult hero, because of things like the honor code, he was always an outsider, because the code also requires regular participation in church services and maintaining an ecclesiastical endorsement from the university. So Retzlaff was able to work around this. There's numerous compromises that they'd made. And because of the fact that he was also an active member on campus, doing a lot of very charitable things and really exploring his faith, they were kind of okay with it. But extramarital business, that's the line you can't cross. Now, this rings as a bit of deja vu, because other players...
Deja Jew, if you will.
Deja Jew. Well, with the exception of these guys weren't Jewish. So BYU has done this numerous times in the 21st century, likely because people go to college nowadays and kind of expect to be able to, have fun. But much like Retzlaff himself was facing a 7-game suspension. You know how I said the regular season is 12 games? 7 games is a long time. He was facing a 7-game suspension next season. And so he decided to withdraw entirely from the university. So he's looking for a new place to play football.
Fnyash.
I think it's more for his future career as a quarterback.
Yeah,
because you can't really miss 7 games.
No.
Because you
can't keep SoCal Jew down.
You can't keep a SoCal... you can't keep a good SoCal Jew down. So he isn't the first to fall foul of the honor code. Back in 2010-2011, during the basketball season, Brandon Davies was suspended for having premarital sex with his girlfriend, while the team was ranked number 3 in the country. So they were on a tear, and they got rid of one of their players because he had premarital sex with his girlfriend. In 2015, a future NFL running back, Jamal Williams, who you may know as he's big into his anime and his manga, and he
I hope that kind of person doesn't watch this show.
Well, no, but he went viral for being into all that. He's a big personality. He missed the whole season 2015 after having a girl in his dorm room. Now, both Davies and Williams stayed at BYU, but in a college sports landscape where there's serious and legal money to be earned with things like name, image, and likeness, where players can profit off their name, image, and likeness, and with Retzlaff potentially a year away from making a jump to the professional ranks, such loyalties don't really bring suitable rewards anymore. So even though Williams stayed on and went on to the NFL, Retzlaff wasn't willing to take that risk. So the man himself, nicknamed, and I love this, BY Jew.
Heyo.
Heyo.
That's the episode title.
It's got to be. Who is sponsored by kosher food company Manischewitz. This is true. Now finds himself in exile.
Also, this locker room, this guy got banned for even having a girl in his dorm room.
Yeah.
The tension in this locker room.
Oh, well, you know how they say that...
He's able to cut the air with a knife.
And if you did that, everyone would go, oh!
I'm winning. I'm winning.
I'm
about to win.
No, right. But I think actually... there's a tactical part to this, because everyone's thinking, it's a religious thing. No. Because boxers don't have sex for weeks leading up to fights.
So save it all for when they're in the ring.
It's bad for your legs. That's what they always. That's the.
I thought it was meant to be bad for testosterone.
Well, that's the thing. They
Oh,
always
and-
say it's bad for your legs, so you're gonna get wobbly legs.
You
if
get
you don't have enough
sea legs.
testosterone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know the science behind that. Ronaldinho used to have sex before every match, and he won a Ballon d'Or.
He never used
so-
to go training.
Yeah.
So
He never his cardio was in the bedroom. Which, if you can get it, fellas,
yeah.
ladies, go ahead.
At the Upshot podcast.
All you athletes out there, there's a new guy in cardio. Oh, I'm not running laps today. Oh, I've got to drop this many pounds to play for the team this season. Oh, it's all gone. Oh yeah.
I think they know this method already.
Sorts
Have you
out
seen
that.
the Olympic Village?
The Olympic Village.
The Olympic Village.
Even on the cardboard bed.
You couldn't have someone shaking the cardboard bed.
but they've got incredible balance.
Yeah.
That's the thing. The gymnasts must have been like unreal.
Yeah.
Well, they definitely.
Louis Smith's pommel horse.
Who's our boy who did the pommel horse and there was in a chess competition against
Stephen
Eberechi
Nederosic.
Eze? Yeah. Penn State legend.
Eberechi Eze, who needs to play Pink Pantheress at chess.
Yes, this is
'Cause
true as well.
I think one of her older female relatives, I don't actually know who, is like a chess champion.
Oh, that's awesome.
And she's good as well.
Yeah, I think because Jake Retzlaff has 2 weeks to find a college. If he can't find one in time for fall camp, and he don't have time to learn the whole system and the whole playbook, which is like the really extensive plays you got to learn for these things. It's really, really hard to be a quarterback. I think if it all goes wrong, Jake, chess.
After this, I will let you get back to football.
Yeah.
But my favourite comment that I saw about the Pink Pantheress thing was, "My name is Pink and it's really knight to E2."
What did I right?
Someone cooks there.
Someone cooked. Someone cooked.
Yeah.
Maybe
Maybe go outside. No. No, stay in and listen to this.
stay and listen to this. So speaking of cooking, the kosher king himself, the Manischewitz man, Jake Retzlaff, without a school, but wherever he goes, I really hope to see him succeed. He was a massive story this past year because it was really strange to see a man called Retzlaff playing quarterback for the Mormon University. Now, not everyone who goes to the school, and especially not every athlete who goes to school, is part of the Church of LDS, but it's super rare for them to be from outside the Christian faith, full stop.
Yeah. Do we know why specifically he chose Brigham Young?
Opportunity, probably.
Right. Okay. They don't have a draft system.
No. So you're recruited, and you can go somewhere, and I think for him it was. There isn't, for example, so there's lots of there's Catholic schools. There's loads of things like you could go to Notre Dame. You know,
I guess like
be Catholic.
sport is for him. Sport is like, and for most of these athletes, sport is paramount.
Yeah, but I think
You'd go anywhere.
I think he's somebody who I think he is quite fervently religious. I think he is quite there's that commitment to that sort of discipline idea, whatever.
Yeah.
And he said that spiritually, mentally, and physically, BYU was a really good place for him to develop.
He loves to soak.
He loves to. He's always soaking away. This is the thing. He's been soaking a long time, and now he can wipe that slate clean and get ready to go. But he
soaking
did
like he's making a tiramisu.
But he did say that like he did enjoy his time there, and he has no like ill will towards them. So, and like I said, they made these compromises. It worked out. But I think BYU is an interesting place. I personally would be a bit put off because the honor code goes much deeper than just extramarital affairs between men and women.
Can tell.
So you said earlier, Chris, that you figured out the workaround.
I have.
What is your workaround?
Guys, man on woman, woman on man action, banned. There's other kinds of sex. They didn't teach you this in school.
Yes, but they do specifically talk about that in the honor code, which says you must abstain from romantic relationships between same-sex partners.
What if you're only in it for the sex?
There's
no romance.
That is absolutely off the cards. Absolutely off the cards.
Fine.
Fine. Guess I'm soaking. No. So it also requires students to abstain from alcoholic beverages, tobacco, vaping, marijuana, and other substance
Say that
abuse.
again.
Marijuana.
February.
Marinara. You've got to say for marinara.
So
That I couldn't
marinara
do.
sauce.
Marinara, I couldn't live without. But marijuana, absolutely I could. See, you're looking at this going, abstaining from sex, no alcohol, tobacco, vaping, marijuana, substance abuse. Matty, you're a born and bred Mormon. This is where it gets kind of strange. So 6 football players fell foul of all that in 2004, by the way. They went to a party off campus where there was like booze and
Marinara.
marinara, and a bit of the old Humpty Rumpety, and there was a few suspensions flying around after that. But I've excluded to mention from the list the most eye-opening inclusions, which are tea and coffee.
Oh.
Yeah. So Joseph Smith, one of his revelations led to the health code, which includes hot drinks specifically. Now, over the years, they've developed this to say this is about tea and coffee, but not herbal teas. So I love a peppermint tea. I might be okay. But yeah, tea and coffee banned. Now, Mormons have... I looked this all up. So is it caffeine? What is it? Caffeinated soda's absolutely fine. So I think famously, if you go to sort of Provo, they have these... You can get these massive, massive cups of just like diet soda or
What's
whatever.
Provo?
Provo is the city where BYU is.
Right, okay.
Provo, Utah.
Oh, it's just all throughout the city.
Yeah, like when you go to the fast food places there, you can buy huge things of caffeinated like Cokes and things like that because that's people substitute for an Americano.
It's like moonshine.
Yeah, because they have. I think they have a much weaker caffeine content than something like a coffee.
Yeah.
So that you've got to overcompensate. And so it's like, wow, how do they find the energy? So many Diet Colas, like drowning in Diet Colas. The university's dress and grooming standards must also be followed under the honor code. This includes an expectation that men be clean-shaven, with an exception for neatly trimmed moustaches, which you may recognise as being part of the former British military dress code and the dress code of the New York Yankees until about a year ago. And it is also the new sensation policy going forward.
True. I'm going to bring mine back.
Oh, double tash?
Double tash.
Yeah. We're so back. We're so back. We're so back. Tune in next week. But
next week for episode 11. It's flown, hasn't it?
Oh my God, it really has flown. Double
Season
digits.
2 next week.
Season 2. Now, students must also respect others, which, fair enough. But this includes the avoidance of profane and vulgar language, which is fucking bullshit, really. I mean, it's like... Because I think I'm a fairly respectful young man, but come on. Now, the code also includes a very simple instruction. Just 2 words. Be honest. Now, that's really how this complicated interfaith pairing ends, much like our own. All we know in the wake of the withdrawn, anonymous suit is that Retzlaff was honest about one thing. The sex. And this is a last commitment by Retzlaff to a code he was breaking. And there's something, I think, quite poetic about that being the end of the relationship. Because it was always complicated. It was always contradictory. And I think the fact that honesty is actually what the university is kind of penalizing him for makes for a very, very interesting case. But yeah, all the best to Jake Retzlaff going forward. I wonder where he goes next in his college football adventure. If you don't follow college football, you really should. It's bonkers, and you never know when a story like this might happen. In his place at BYU, there is set to be a 3-horse race for starting quarterback, including freshman Bear Backmeyer. That's his real name.
What?
If you don't know the beauty of college football names, oh boy, we've got a universe to show you. But for now... we take a trip to a much more different circumstance. From BYU to Gambian toyboys. Chris, what on earth is going on?
Come with me to the west of Africa, children, and I will show you something that you may not have heard about. So we're all planning our summer holidays. Some of us have already been on summer holidays. Some of us are set to go.
I'm about to go on a summer holiday.
Do you know where your gran is going to go on her summer holidays?
Nowhere.
Well, you might want to check where your granny is fine to go on her summer holidays. And be warned that if she's going to the Gambia, if you see her click on that package holiday, it's become a hotspot for older British women looking for Gambian toy boys.
Well, that's a package holiday, all right? Come on.
Yes. And the Gambian government, much like the administration at BYU, they're not happy about it. So... the West African nation of the Gambia has gained a reputation as a nation where older British women go seeking younger lovers. This has actually been going on since the 1990s with the advent of cheap package holidays, like we talked about, to the Gambia. But the newspapers of record, The Sun and the Daily Star...
Chris, how the mighty have fallen. It's episode 10 and the qualified journalist amongst us.
I know, well, yeah, I had to have a fact-checking team on hand. You
had to hold your breath as you did.
Yeah. They've dug this story back up, and apparently the situation now is even worse than it was when it was first reported, or better, depending on your perspective. So here's the Sun's headline for you. You ready?
Strap it.
Inside world's largest OAP sex market, where Brit grands known as Dirty Sarahs romp on beaches where men decades younger... with men decades younger. Sorry, I stopped learning how to read because that was such a heinous headline.
It's also a long headline.
There's a lot to unpack in there.
There's so much to
First of all,
unpack.
sex market. Bit much.
Bit much.
Oh, well, it's the Sun, isn't it? They also love the word romp.
Yes.
I'm so
Romp is a great word.
Romp is just a word people never say. But it's always the word that tabloids use.
It's an incredibly British expression for it.
Yeah, we had a jolly good romp in Gambia.
Yeah. Well, I refer to it as the humpety rumpety before, I think.
Oh.
So I think there's the...
I'm still shuddering. It's a good job that this headline wasn't lifted from the Daily Star. I'm surprised that the Daily Star headline didn't include the word bonk, because all 4 of the suggested articles next to it did. Including
bonk, romp, bounding.
One of them said something like, hubby was sizzling sausages while I bonked his best friend. Now family says I'm a slapper. It's just like... This is Watergate level stuff.
It's Watergate level stuff. I mean, democracy dies in darkness. So what was the Daily Star?
Well, no, it was more tame than that. It was more tame than the Sun's headline. The Gambia's earned the nickname the Granbia.
Excellent.
The Gambian government, they're not happy about it. They're trying to crack down on sex tourism. What we want is quality tourists, says Abubakar Kamara, who's the director of the Gambia Tourism Board. Tourists that come to enjoy the country and the culture, but not tourists that just come for sex.
Abubakar Kamara is a football player, isn't he?
Undoubtedly. I mean, both those names are really popular.
Yeah.
Abubakar
Well,
and
yeah.
Kamara. But yeah, there probably is a footballer. I don't know if he's from the Gambia. I don't think I know any Gambian footballers.
Gambian. Whoa, I'm gonna have to think about it.
It's not a hot spot for football.
No.
Because all the young talent's being taken by the British Cougars.
I'll cut this out if I'm wrong, but isn't Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang? Gabon.
Yep.
Right.
Leave it in. Some of the brief paid-for relationships that the Gambia is known for are arranged in advance online. So the young men then meet the women at Banjul International, which is the Gambia's only airport that's based in the capital. And some other men, known as bumsters, they scout the beach in search of older women, with the Senegambia Strip in Banjul, or near Banjul rather, being a popular spot for this kind of activity. Sex work's illegal in the Gambia, so they're not strictly allowed to be paid for this.
Right.
But there's a potentially life-changing financial incentive for the men who do, because lots of them live in poverty. And locals told The Sun that the situation is reached either new highs or new lows, depending on how you see it. If you're a British cougar or a horrified onlooker. But the popular Kololi Beach Resort is regularly swarming with women who are not only from the UK, but also from Sweden, Russia, Germany, and Holland. One way to get to the...
Swedish and Russian cougars patrolling the beaches.
No love for Germany and Holland there, I notice.
New sensation trip to Gambia, what we say?
Yeah, maybe. You'll end up in Gabon knowing your sense of geography. That's a West African joke for our West African fans. We had an East African listener. We've had Ethiopia.
Oh, really?
It might have been somebody we know who's travelling there, but I don't actually know of anyone who's been there recently.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Shout out to Ethiopia.
They've really got it hard at the moment with the Tigray uprising and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's very few African nations that don't have it hard at the moment.
That's very true. Yeah. Ethiopia's his famed army has been, it's being tested.
It is being tested.
But anyway, that's for our Patreon listeners. Back to the Toy Boys. So, 51-year-old Heidi Hepworth made national news in 2018 when she ended her 23-year marriage after 4 months of speaking to a Gambian man and converted to Islam to marry Mamadou Salou Jallo, despite never having been abroad before.
Mashallah. I was almost converted so many times in secondary school.
I think you have to mean it. Like they're trying
You
to...
have to mean it. Yeah.
They. No.
They.
A Syrian boy in my
No,
class got me to say the words.
Yeah, our close friends would constantly be like, "Oh, can you say this?" And it would just be the shahada.
Yeah.
But then we got taught what that was quite early on. I'm like, I know what you're trying to get me to say.
As you can see from the stack, Matty is not converted to Islam.
No.
No. And Barbara, 65 years old, from Dartford in Kent, was not looking for something as serious as Heidi. So she has been to the island as a sex tourist, and she told The Sun, "I don't know what all the fuss is about. I'm not doing anything illegal. If you go to somewhere like Thailand, you see loads of old men with young girls, but no one talks about that."
I think they do.
Yeah.
I think
That's ripe for a new sensation story.
Yeah, I think that's also far more famous than the Gambian thing, but go on.
I think so. The minute a woman gets together with a younger man, there's an uproar. And we're called cougars and sex tourists. My bad, I did just call her a sex tourist. And all that.
and a cougar.
Earlier on. I came here for a bit of fun, and I'm not harming anyone. If I want to take a good-looking bloke to my hotel room, it's no one's business but my own.
She's absolutely right.
You would say otherwise.
You've
read the code.
Clearly violated the honor code, which is voluntary, by the way.
The complimentary teas or coffees on the Jet 2 flight there. Did Jet 2 go to Gambia?
If they
Darling,
do,
hold my hand.
certainly nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday. Oh boy.
This is, well, like with all funny things, soon the laughter turns to tears. So, Channel 4 made it.
Oh, okay.
Matty's bracing himself for impact.
Channel 4's coming with a documentary. It's going to get miserable
Channel
real
4
quick.
have come in with a... Well, maybe it'll give us some pause for thought. So, Channel 4 made a documentary in 2020 called Gambia Sex on the Beach. And journalist Say Rhodes...
Sounds really serious.
And Say Rhodes said that when he went to the Gambia with a white female friend, they were treated as if Rhodes was a young Gambian and she was his madam. And shop owners would keep saying to him, "Get madam to buy something from my shop." Which... I mean, nice.
So it sounds like this is really good for the local economy.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had anti-tourism protests in Europe, but I feel like tourism's 20% of Gambia's income.
Really?
They need this.
Well, I mean, if Europe don't want them,
they need the cougars.
Hey, ladies, I know where you're going next. It's not Magaluf.
It's Gambia. But unfortunately, when Say Rhodes was going around alone, he said that lots of older white women were incredibly grabby. And one almost stopped when she heard his British accent, but carried on feeling him under his shirt.
Oh, no, that's badly done.
Matty would have done it quite differently.
That's badly done. It's just poor form.
Offside.
No, it's really offside. I mean, that's not even a yellow card.
Under the shirt is offside.
Under the shirt. Well, I'm saying it's further than that. I'm saying it's at least bookable.
I think that he should be demoted from the Europa League. That kind of behaviour.
We'll get to that.
We will. Rhodes wrote an article for the I paper, which I think sums up this entire complex issue. I'm sure we've done justice to the complexity.
The light and shade.
It sums up the
It's
entire...
certainly 50 Shades of Grey. I'll tell you that.
Certainly is.
50 Shades of Grey hair. Go on. Go on.
I don't actually get that one. Anyway,
50 Shades of Grey hair.
Grey hair.
Grey hair.
I just said Gruyere.
Gruyere?
Gruyere.
Get on with the story.
Killing
me.
Say Rhodes said, or rather wrote, "Some of the people I met might look like they fit neatly into a box. Sex tourist, scammer, victim. But once I'd taken the time to understand them, I could see that they were all works in progress." This sounds like somebody that we'll get onto soon whose father's name rhymes with mapped in schmom. But
we're all works in progress, darling.
Once I'd taken the time to understand... Oh no, I've already said that. From
the woman who got engaged to a man.
I really shouldn't have so much alcohol before we start filming. We're filming at what time are we on? 11:49
in the morning. Stop breaking the honor code, Chris. You know the rules.
My bad. I had a tea. From the woman who got engaged to a man she'd known for 3 months to the 34-year-old man who said he's proud to be engaged to an 86-year-old. He's a will hunter. People don't always know if they're looking for love, sex, money, or power. In reality, they're all interlinked, and you can only see that by diving into people's lives and looking with no judgment.
Very true.
We never judge anybody.
We're a judgment-free zone. We listen and we don't judge. I'm very impressed that we made it through 2 separate sex stories without
breaking the honor code.
No, 2 separate sex stories after talking about the honor code and not making a joke about tea.
Very true.
Very true.
We've got better jokes.
The Mormons really don't want tea full stop from the sound of things.
No, they do.
But here's Here's the tea when it comes to European football. You see, there have been various headlines in the past week relating to UEFA's regulations. And one of the best ones has to be about what is surely the best and luckiest Arsenal in Europe. That's right, Montenegrin side FK Arsenal Tivat, who have been banned for 10 years from UEFA club competitions for match fixing.
Wow.
Now, the club only stayed in the Montenegrin top flight last season thanks to a relegation playoff, but in July 2023, they were in the qualification rounds of the Conference League. Now, this is where they came up against Armenian side Alashkert. After a 1-1 draw in the first leg, the tie took a turn when Alashkert won the second leg 6-1, and the match was flagged for suspicious betting patterns. Now, this is part of a broader issue with UEFA's European-wide competitions in relation to sports betting.
No period betting.
No period betting. Chris, not sure. I don't think that plays into Montenegrin top-flight football matches, or into
Not men's at least.
Or Conference League playoffs. Is there a Montenegrin and Armenian women's division?
There may be.
There may be.
There should be. I wonder if they've been banned as well. They didn't do it.
They didn't do it, yeah. Well, this is the thing. I think it's a men's club. They didn't specify this, but they weren't involved in that game. Unless I'm completely misreading this whole article, and this is all about the Montenegrin women's team, FK Arsenal Tivat, who have been suspiciously betting on their own
Haven't
games.
they just hit a transfer record?
The most expensive women's player on the planet, yeah.
Just gone from Arsenal.
Just gone
FK
from
Arsenal.
Liverpool, not FK Arsenal Tivat, actually. From Liverpool to Arsenal... Arsenal of Woolwich Arsenal, as it used to be.
I did not know that.
Yeah, £1 million player. First one. Insane.
A million.
Yeah.
If you think about, because obviously the women's game had 50 years cut out of it, when men were like, too many people are watching this, which is... We could go
also
on.
woke nonsense.
Also, the game's gone.
What, you don't like competition? Game's gone.
They literally said game's gone.
The game was literally gone.
Game was
decades.
taken. But 50 years ago, what was the, 50 years, 1975.
Yeah.
Were
and a million pound player.
Were men getting sold for a mil?
Ooh, I don't know.
So maybe in 50 years we're going to have...
£1 million player feels like late 70s, early 80s. I think Maradona went for 3 million in the early 80s.
Yeah. Also, $1 million back then.
Huge money. But now you have 14-year-olds being bought for $1 million by Premier League sides.
Yeah,
as in academy players.
That's wild.
Yeah. It's insane. So, speaking of wild, Chris Rasmussen, the lecturer in sports betting integrity at the University of New Haven, I'm sure you're aware. He's the one who said that in 2023 the tie had clear suspicious patterns. Also pointing out that UEFA's big mix of countries and less well-known teams makes it hard for the bookmaker to set the correct odds, which is a disparity that likely led to the events that we saw between FK Asseltebet and Alashkert, because if your game suddenly has very strange odds when you are balanced teams, an opportunity presents itself. Now, where have we seen this before? Back in 2009, North Macedonian side FK Pobeda were banned for 8 years for manipulating the outcome of a match. And this was after irregular betting patterns were observed in their Champions League qualifier with Armenian side FC Pionik.
It all comes back to the homeland, baby.
It all comes back to the homeland. It's very funny that both these cases, I was like, what on earth? Now, in both the case of FK Pobeda and FK Arsenal Tivat, it wasn't just the clubs as a whole that faced bans. Both clubs saw their president and a player banned from all football-related activity for life.
Well, who was placing the bets?
So bearing in mind that the bans seem to have fallen on the Montenegrin Arsenal and the North Macedonian Pobeda, and neither of the Armenian sides, I'm assuming that this is something that has gone through those teams.
No, I mean, which individual was placing the bets? Because if it's one player and the rest are getting banned for 10 years, or if it's the president, well, it would make more sense if it was the president.
So, if you're wondering between a president and a player, when it's an individual player, someone we saw it with Ivan Toney. Sandro Tonali had the whole thing about overcoming his gambling addiction.
Yep.
With an individual player, you can track their accounts. When you see an irregular betting pattern around one game in particular, that requires multiple accounts. So I'm assuming that the president is the fact that they're shouldering such significant blame for this. You're expecting a broader conspiracy than just one or two individuals, but it's murky. and I cannot tell you the specific details. But all we know is the fact that Tibet had been banned. Tibet had been banned for 10 years, which is pretty significant. So they've also been fined €500,000, which again, for us Premier League viewers, is chump change. Not if you're FK Arsenal Tibet. That's a significant fine. So yeah, the club is in a really, really tough spot. And we've seen this in recent years. I mean, UEFA are always on the cusp of banning people. I mean, Fenerbahce and Besiktas got banned for a year for domestic match fixing. And there's always the FFP stuff, financial fair play, for those who don't know, where big clubs break the rules and get away with it.
Their own, their games against each other.
Again, that's a broader thing that happened in Turkish football. I think it was more the fact that they were banned and became headline names because they had the chance of being in European competition. What's interesting about this is the fact that FK Arsenal Tibet aren't guaranteed to be in European competition for the next 10 years anyway.
No.
Because they only just survived relegation.
Yeah. Sounds like they won't be, to be honest.
Sounds like they won't be. But somebody who was guaranteed to be in a European competition and has now been demoted is Crystal Palace.
Yeah, you might know them for famed chess player we talked about earlier.
Famed chess player Eberici Eze, who might not even be a Crystal Palace player by the time this video comes out, because Arsenal is swarming around.
You'd move, wouldn't you, with what's happened with Crystal Palace?
So this is the thing. Crystal Palace won the FA Cup in dramatic fashion and qualified for the Europa League.
Beating City, so close to our own hearts.
Close to our own hearts. Oh, it was so good. It was so good. And also my boy Ryan, big Crystal Palace fan. And he was giving us flack all season because they were doing better than us for a change. And they finished above us in the table. But we gave him his flowers for that one. That was a beautiful moment. But look, the issue is that there's this whole thing of the multi-ownership model. Now, the big clubs get away with it. Most of the big clubs have a multi-ownership model, if you're not aware. They don't just own one club, they own multiple across different countries and even continents. There's the Blue Group, which is Chelsea, there's the City Group, and there's Ineos for United. So, for example, Ineos also own OGC Nice and Lausanne in Switzerland. City also own Girona, and a few other countries, like Melbourne City, I think they own as well. Chelsea owns Strasbourg. There's so many interlinked kind of properties. But the idea is that they're not meant to play each other in the same European competition.
Yeah.
So the issue with Crystal Palace is that this is what they've been done for, is the idea that Lyon qualified for the same competition as Palace. And John Textor, who is one of the owners of Palace, has stakes in Lyon, who've only just been bailed out of a financially based relegation themselves. So what ended up happening there is that UEFA demoted them from the Europa League to the Conference League, which Crystal Palace rightly said is completely unfair because there is a massive purse difference between those two competitions.
Yeah.
It's huge. If you win the Europa League, you get into the Champions League. This is massive, massive, massive stuff. And they're missing out on this. Now, it's worth noting that because Palace, who finished mid-table, won the Europa League, and so many teams in England qualify for European competitions, it meant that Forest, who at one point were looking, Nottingham Forest this is, in case you're unaware, who were looking to make Champions League, the premier competition, suddenly found themselves in a Europa League spot, which was then worth a Conference League spot. And their owner, famed for throwing tantrums, storming onto pitches, confronting his manager, banning Gary Neville from the City ground, caused a bit of a stir when he approached UEFA and said, Crystal Palace are in violation of these rules. Now, the man himself, and let me get this right, their owner, Evangelos Marinakis, who is a bit of a character, also owns Olympiakos, who are the Greek champions. So there's questions abound about, well, he's got a multi-ownership model, where's the rules for him? Well, first of all, Olympiakos, I think, are Champions League, Nottingham Forest, Europa League, or perhaps Conference League, but now have taken Palace's spot in the Europa League after whistleblowing. He has put his shares in Forest in a blind trust to comply with the rules, which means that the ownership model is kind of worked around. Which, I mean, pot kettle blackalopolis, we're looking at it.
Should we get that laugh track we ordered?
Yeah, it feels like hypocrisy. Ultimately, what you need to know about European football is that there is often like you said, so many different things happening simultaneously that it's really hard to keep track of. But at the top level, the Premier League level, it should be better regulated. It isn't, and this is where you get circumstances like this. But in the meantime, it could be worse at Palace. They could be facing 10-year bans. They could be facing all different things. But there is a recurring pattern that teams who are slightly higher up the echelons can kind of get away with far more. Now, Palace is taking it to an appeal. We'll see how that goes. Right now, they're looking to be demoted to the Conference League. But yeah, it's a very, very interesting case. Again, if you're not into European football, it's a whole world of its own outside of just like regular English football. And it is absolutely, absolutely fascinating. You see some really interesting ties, especially at this point in the season when it's like the early qualifying stages. It's like Malta teams versus like, I don't know, like a Romanian team that's like not even like Stau, like lower in the rankings. I think an Andorran side took Stau to the limit. But who like the Stau Bucharest that's now FCSB.
I think that
played them close.
now FK Arsenal Tivat have more time in their hands. They should do a friendly series with the real Arsenal.
I
and
think
the Arsenal that's in South America.
There's Arsenals. There's everybody.
There's lots of Arsenals.
There's always Arsenals.
But speaking of people who have a lot of ventures going on at once, and I'm hoping people won't be able to keep track of them all.
Yeah.
The daughter of war hero and lockdown national treasure, Captain Sir Tom Moore, is cashing in on his legacy again.
Mm-hmm.
She's rebranded as a resilience coach.
What does this mean?
So, well, first of all, if you're not from England, if you are from England, you'll of course know who Captain Tom Moore is. If you're not from England, here's a potted history. So, Captain Tom Moore was a British Army veteran, and during the COVID pandemic, Captain Tom decided he'd try to raise a bit of money for the NHS by walking 10 laps of his garden a day. Bearing in mind he was 99 and used a walking frame. And he's got a really big garden, which we'll get onto. His aim was to reach 100 laps before his 100th birthday, which gave him 24 days. But by his 100th birthday, he'd become famous across the entire country, and his campaign had raised almost £39 million for the NHS.
Very good.
So
what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, well, I know. True national treasure. That was in April 2020, and he passed away a hero in February 2021, having been knighted. BBC News made a special programme about him. Both Houses of Parliament observed a minute's silence, and the Queen even sent a message of private condolence to his family. What a lovely end to this story.
That's been a new sensation.
Enter his daughter, Hannah Ingram Moore, and her husband Colin. The Ingram Moore couple had set up a private limited company in April 2020, the same month that Captain Tom started his walk, in which their 2 children also held shares. So, you know, bit of a family business.
Yeah.
They then set up the Captain Tom Foundation a month later in May, with the broad aim of just helping those in need in general.
Yeah.
During the registration process, the charity agreed that it would be independent from Captain Tom's family and that no family member would receive any benefit from it. That same month, Hannah Ingram Moore signed a book deal for 3 Captain Tom books. Rather than the money going to the foundation, Hannah Ingram Moore stipulated in the deal that the money be paid directly to her company, indicating that she would make a donation later. Not only that, but the prologue of one of the books, which is attributed to Captain Tom, said, "With the offer to write this memoir, I've also been given the chance to raise even more money for the charitable foundation." I'm going to repeat that. For the charitable foundation now established in my name. Regardless, the family kept the 800 grand for themselves. And Hannah Ingram Moore said that that's what Captain Tom wanted. Here's her explanation. "There is nothing dishonest about what happened. The book said it would support the launch, and it did. There was never a specific amount of money required."
Oh, God. I love a technicality.
Yeah, I'm sorry if people feel misled, but it wasn't us doing the misleading. What? She also built a pool and spa on the grounds of her family home and included the name of the foundation in a planning application, you know, sweeten
it up, yeah.
And she also said it was built to help her father recover from a hip injury, despite the plans being submitted after he died.
That's nefarious.
Nice.
Using
Get her
your
on the
dead
pod.
dad's name. Oh, my.
The planning application was later refused and the pool demolished. You local council fans will be pleased to know.
Shout out the HOAs of the world.
All the while, Hannah Ingram Moore was on a salary of 85 grand for 3 days of work a week, on a yearly salary for that. She'd asked the Charity Commission for England and Wales if she could claim 100 grand, but they refused.
That's a staggering amount.
Staggering. That's you could buy like 10 women's footballers with that.
You could probably find yourself rebuilding the whole Montenegrin women's division with that. But
Do they have like female career mode in FC 25? You know what I'm doing this weekend. I know what Hannah Ingram Moore's doing this weekend as well, because bringing it to the present day, now she's rebranded. She's launched a TikTok series called More Moments, again cashing in on that priceless name, teaching followers how to overcome self-doubt and build quiet confidence. And under the first More Moments TikTok that she launched, she's copied and pasted under every negative comment, and I quote, "You are ridiculous and ignorant. Fact check," in capitals. £38.9 million went entirely to NHS charities, as if she's the one who walked around the garden. She's gone on to blame twisted lies in the mainstream media. Guilty, I guess.
Guilty.
And has said the trolls and haters are fueled by their own anger and envy.
I am fueled by my own anger and envy.
Yeah, that's what gets this guy through the day.
As the president of the Trolls and Haters Society.
Summa cum laude graduate from Hater Trollversity.
I kept the honor code. The Moore family, everything we hear about them in headlines since the captain himself passed away has just been increasingly more concerning.
Yeah.
And I think deciding that out of that you start to be a motivational speaker effectively.
Yeah, I mean, she's having toured the chat shows and been ripped a new one by the likes of Judge Rinder.
Oh, yeah.
She's now...
Absolute mensch, Judge Rinder, by the way.
Yeah, he's never what Judge Judy was. I say was because
Better.
Judy Justice, I think she needs to be, she needs to be moved on. There's something of the Biden about her rulings.
Okay, right. But what I'm saying is that, like, for someone to go around and they're saying, I'm preaching how to overcome self-doubt, I think she needs a bit more self-doubt, to be honest with you.
Yeah, she's never apologized for anything.
And just, is it that hard to just say,
yeah,
by the way.
And clearly thinks that nearly 39 million that was raised for the NHS was somehow her doing. As if she did the laps.
No. And also, I've realised, like, in the latter stage of this podcast, anyone who's watching along rather than just listening along is going to be really freaked out because I forgot to untie the cables on my microphone. And so I have this Lovecraftian sort of...
Straight out of the Necronomicon, that one.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice that.
It's more twisted than some of the comments that Hannah Ingram Moore's been saying in the last... in the last few weeks. But maybe that's just us, the bitter and twisted mainstream media.
Maybe so.
The trolls and the haters. But if you want to be part of our troll and hater collective, who are going to have to go through this episode and sweep out so many comments that you probably won't hear, you can email us at newsensationpod@gmail.com. That's
newsensationpod@gmail.com. Or you can look at our Insta and TikTok. At Insta is New Sensation, and the TikTok, throw a pod on the end. It's New Sensation Pod.
It is. It's very nice. It's all very makes sense. It's not confusing at all.
We've had a lot of love on our recent TikTok about AI trip sitters. But if you're a drug dealer, please stop commenting because I can't do. I'm trying to delete them all.
Yeah, that's not the point of the story, guys. It's not the point of the story.
This is not a marketplace. We are not the Gambia.
It's the market. It's the marketplace of ideas. And even though it looks like a meat market, it's not that either.
Heyo.
And speaking of meat, he's been Chris Patel.
He's been Matty Curry.
Thank you for joining us on this beautiful adventure.